Welcome back to Trash and Treasure Garage, where it's suddenly winter. It was like 40 degrees a couple of weeks ago when I was working on this thing, and we've had some nights down to like 5 lately. Supposed to do that again tonight. Thankfully, it's 30 degrees now, so heating the shop is a little easier. We'll see how things hold up as the day goes on here. Oh, current status. I actually did some work off camera as I just needed a break here while I went through and cleaned up all this wiring. Look at that, like with these looms on and with the beauty covers on. You know, at a glance, this thing almost doesn't look like somebody hacked and chopped the heck out of this wiring harness and left me to put it back together. If it wasn't for my zip tie fuel line mod and some of the electrical tape that you just can't hide, like that stuff there, this thing would almost look like it hasn't been through the hell it's been through. Since the last time you saw it, I also put the power steering pump on. That was a little bit of a process because I had to go and hunt bolts. It's loose because I still need a belt for it, which is sitting in the box. So our goal today is we'll get the belt on. That's not that ambitious, but we're going to do it. Now we're still missing a few parts up here. So I have the radiator, I have the shroud. I had to buy all new attaching hardware for that because it's been lost to the sands of time. I've got some heater hoses that we'll be putting in over here, and we're going to find out just exactly how bad the heater core leaks once we get those on. I have a feeling that once those hoses start heating up and the heater core starts heating up, it's probably going to really stink like mouse in there, because I have a feeling that is exactly where that little rascal was living, was in the heater box. But who knows? We may send a bunch of them scurrying as they start getting too hot. We'll find out. I know it doesn't smell great in there, and it definitely smells like mouse and mouse droppings, because that's exactly the kind of high-class, high-quality vehicles we like working on here at Trash and Treasure Garage. So let's get into it. So fun fact, something I didn't realize until just now, valve covers are different between the generations of engines. This one has that temp sensor in the back that I've mentioned in a previous video for the gauge, whereas the newer ones take it all off of this guy that runs the computer. The valve cover that goes on this engine, which is this one, has a little indent in the cover to clear that sensor, which if you're like me and you put the valve cover on before you put the sensor in, you'll find out when you try to thread the sensor in and it doesn't go. Anyway, they're different valve cover gaskets too, so now I don't have the correct gasket and I've got to order one, which is just, it's life, whatever. Setbacks happen. Here's our new belt. I'm going to do this before I put anything else on the front of the engine, because I can reach it right now, and that's a beautiful thing. Nice and easy to do this on a vehicle that does not have air conditioning or any of those other creature comforts that add pulleys. This guy's got to go down more, huh? Okay, that's loose. Just needs a little tappy tap. Just slide down a little. The tone changed, so it must have moved. Let's see. Where does that leave us? Watch me have the wrong flipping belt. That's all the way in. Turn that screw out a little more. I don't like the way these older ones adjust. There's a screw that you turn. Or not a screw, a bolt that you turn on the end of the power steering here. And that allows it to slide along the bracket. Except that the first time you expose it to rust, it says, I'm not sliding anymore. And then you've got to fight with it to get it to move, which is probably right where we're at. Yeah, that doesn't want to move at all. Smashing. Will it turn the other way? Of course not. Well, look at that. In the first 2 minutes, we're already being invited to use violence. Everything's loose there. Alright, well, let's get that a little warm and see if it'll move. Maybe add a little blaster to it. See if that helps. It won't. And where did my fire go? I should probably be a little bit more aware of where my lines are. Oh, I'm a good ways from the fuel lines. Rock on.
Cool. Fire, 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 fire.
That's fine. How about now? Now will you turn? Does it need to be on fire? I don't know. You'll turn now, huh? Now, the threat of being set on fire is very persuasive. I need to remember that. I hear it's frowned upon to use it with people, though. So, just something to keep in mind. Keep it to the mechanical threats. I think I was turning that the wrong way. I was too busy being happy with myself for getting it free. Ratcheting wrenches are like the greatest thing ever. How's that? Are we going the right way? See, I'm glad I'm doing this before I installed anything that would make it harder to reach. Just for this reason. May not be able to get it all the way on before the fan goes in because that water pump pulley is going to be a little wonky, but at least we can get it most of the way there. Why would this thing be turned out so far in the wrong direction? So as I was saying, I don't like this style of adjustment. I like the newer ones that have a tensioner. For reasons that are hopefully kind of obvious right about now. But how about now? I've got like one rib on. Come on. Almost there. Well, at least the belt will stay taut. A couple more turns and we've got this. How about now? Now will you cooperate? And there we go. Now it's just a matter of tightening it up to take most of that slack out of it. Yeah, that pulley is going to be a problem. We'll get it a little more tight. Then we'll put the radiator in, then the fan and the shroud. Then we can finish tightening the thing. But the less of this we have to do while banging into fan blades and shrouds and stuff, the better. Okay, that's probably good. Make sure we're not bending that pulley too far out of the way. Okay, radiator time. So the radiator uses these speed nuts that don't really have like anything on them for thread. I don't love that. Plus the bolts were missing. So I got some speed nuts that actually have some depth to them to replace these with. And just because Jeep did it this way and it's lasted for the last 30 years, why not re-engineer it? It's kind of amazed that these things are like several dollars a piece at Tractor Supply. It's not really a local business, but I still kind of like to try to spend my money locally. I want to go on Amazon. Got the whole box for like $8. There's 15 of them in it. That's what it is. Yeah, these will work. These will work just fine. The radiator will be the strongest part of the entire vehicle. Alright. There there's that. The radiator that came in this thing actually looks really good. Must have been relatively new when the Jeep went down. So here it is. Put it right there. It's like a top mount intercooler, like it's a Subaru. Before I put it in, I've got a drain plug, which I really hope is right, because that would stop us in our tracks. And it is absolutely wrong. That's wonderful. Okay, well, it's missing the drain plug. The one that I got for it said it was for the vehicle, but it's not. It's like a square thing that pushes into a hole and then threads into that, whereas I just needed one that had the right pipe thread on it to fit in the radiator. So I guess there's only so far we're going to get with this today. Smashing. We'll go ahead and get this mounted up, and I'll go order parts. There's no core support in these. This just kind of screws in. Oh, we got some fancy new bolts to go with our fancy new speed nuts. It's like the only shiny part on the whole thing. It's awesome. Yeah, kind of like that, I think. We're not going to get any of these like tight, so that we can move it around. Make sure it's in a good spot for all of the threads as we get the other fasteners in. But I can still get a lot done today, even though I'm now kind of salty about getting the wrong drain plug. But if that's the worst thing that happens to me out here today, other than not having the right valve cover gasket and just generally me and this vehicle both being kind of a hot mess, we'll be okay. There's that one started. Let's get our power steering reservoir to go hang out somewhere else. I figure that must go on the shroud. Oh, hey, it's slotted, so you put the bottom ones in first, and then it sits on the bottom ones. Man, it really wasn't hard the way I did it, but good to know. Or if you're watching the video thinking, maybe I should go change the radiator on my YJ, know that you don't have to take your bottom bolts all the way out. You just loosen them up and lift the radiator off them. And there you go. That is the core support. Alright, get those all zipped down, and our radiator is in. I think I'll probably find out shortly that I did something wrong and have to take it back out, because that's life. Where's my half-inch? You know, when you own power tools, you should use them. Why am I doing that by hand? It's so much easier. I look through the hood now and I see the radiator. This thing looked, or through the grill rather. I see the radiator. This thing's starting to look like a Jeep. Go back and just snug these by hand. That way I can say I did it. You know, that thing tends to get them to like 20 foot-pounds. Something satisfying about tightening the bolt yourself. Ah, and I'm missing a step. That's not going anywhere. Okay, now it's in. Now, one of my favorite dances to do when you're working on a car is the dance of the cooling fan versus the shroud. And I just wish that more people made two-piece shrouds so that you didn't have to fight to get the thing around the fan and vice versa. I've lost more good skin cells, donated more blood in the battle of the cooling fan and the shroud than I think I have working on anything else, except for maybe the odd violent window regulator, but we won't talk about that right now. All right, I got my shroud here. I don't see where in the heck that reservoir mounts. I guess I'll figure that out, or realize that it's not like I'm working on something rare. I can probably Google it and get an answer, or I'll stand here and stare at it for a while and scratch my head and think about the state of the world. And I don't think that's the correct orientation. Oh yeah, that has the belt routing diagram on the top of it, so it's probably a clue. I think it goes just like that. That would make sense. Someone already busted this in half and then riveted it back together. Kind of cool. Alright. I need some more spade nuts. One there. One down there a little bit. Hang on. Where does that attach? Way down there. Okay. Cool. I sure hope these aren't too big. Well, I mean, of course they're too big. Why wouldn't they be too big? Silly of me to assume otherwise. Can the original speed nuts work? Nope. Okay, maybe we go with nuts and bolts on that one. Setback after setback after setback. Or I could have measured. I guess that one's on me. Alright, so I can't quite do the fan shroud. Or I can temporarily install the fan shroud with zip ties. At least that lets me get the whole thing put together. Zip ties will hold it, and then I can come back around, remove them, put speed nuts in that fit. I think that is exactly the right kind of wrong. Alright, where's my fan? My biggest fan. Hey, fans, could you please like and subscribe as you're watching this video? It doesn't cost you a thing, but it sure helps me, and it will allow me to keep growing my channel and keep making this content. You can be my biggest fans. Alright, I should have checked the fan clutch earlier, but the good news is every now and then you get lazy and you luck out. Fan clutch is just fine. This guy down here. Next thing that you're supposed to do is put a fan blade right through the radiator so that when you fill it up with coolant, it starts leaking. There we go. Fan is on the stud. Kind of, sort of. The whole thing just kind of wants to go flying. Get in there. Yeah, that pulley's definitely sitting at an angle. I don't know why. Oh, maybe it's because I tightened the belt before I should have. Alright, come on. Sorry if you're just seeing elbow in the video. I gotta contort to get one started here. But once those first few precious threads catch, the fan can no longer fall off. And that is a beautiful thing. The other cool thing about leaving the belt on but a little bit loose is it puts some drag on this pulley. And now I can turn it to get to the next nut. But it's kind of held a little bit still, so I can start threading it without spinning the pulley. So that was actually a very strategic application of precise belt tension to get us to this point. So please don't ever doubt me again. Thank you. Let's start tightening these a little. I do believe these are more 1/2 inch nuts. If only there was somewhere to put this shroud so it was out of the way. Maybe I can like wad up some chewing gum and stick it in that drain plug. I can run this thing for more than 2 minutes because that was kind of the goal. But if I have to get another drain plug, now I'm stuck doing stuff I don't want to do while I wait for it, like brakes. Because if you recall, we learned during the unloading process, thankfully at the right time when I said, hey, we should check for brakes before we just shove it backwards off the trailer. And the pedal went straight to the floor, as it should. And I know from what I saw when I was doing the fuel tank that those lines don't look very great back there. I can't wait for that process because generally what happens is you try to fix one and then you've committed the sin of touching it. And once you touch it, everything else that was kind of thinking about sort of getting ready to break, it breaks. The brakes break. Brakes are always breaking. Okay, that's on. I need something to turn that pulley so I can get to the next bolt, or next nut, or next stud, whatever you want to call it. A little screwdriver in there. Will you do it? No, all of a sudden this belt is like, oh, you know why? Because I tightened up the nut, which made the pulley sit square on the water pump, which effectively tightened the belt. So now if I loosen this belt up a little, I should be able to turn this again. That was all part of the strategy. Just forgot the depths of my own genius for a moment there. Okay. Now will you turn? If only this fan shroud would go somewhere. There we go. Get that around to the next one. And you're going to be right there. Fan shroud in the way again. Now what's probably going to happen is I'm going to get all this put together. And then I'm going to find out that I either have a leaking radiator or a bad water pump. The water pump felt pretty good, but you really don't know until you run it. Or at least get it full of coolant and pressure check it, but not doing that either. Tighten me up some more here. joking around a little. It actually does work out very, very nicely having the belt a little bit tight on this so that it helps hold it still while you put these 4 nuts onto the pulley. Otherwise, it just wants to spin, and especially with this hand shroud that just hangs around and gets in the way, there's not much you can really do to hold it still unless you have 3 arms, which I don't think I've breathed in enough brake cleaner yet to believe that I have 3 arms. Alright, that's tight. Now I'm just going to go around to each one of the 4 bolts here, nuts rather, and just make sure they're tight. So as predicted, that first one that I put in is now a little bit loose because of the pulley moving. Did I really just do this whole job and not cut myself once? I think I did. There's one more to tighten, so no, we're good. The Jeep did not draw blood. I must have done something to please the Jeep gods. I'm trying here, universe. I'm really trying. Okay. Alright. A couple of zip ties and a shopping list that includes speed nuts. We got speed nuts, we got a valve cover gasket, got a radiator drain plug, probably everything in the brakes. That should be the hole for that. No, it's that second one. Then what'll happen is I'll forget I did this, and I'll go drive it, and the zip ties will break, and the fan shroud will hit the fan, and it will explode into a bunch of millions of little pieces, which will puncture the radiator and dent the hood and throw the belt, and I'll be walking home from a test drive. All the reasons to walk home for a test drive. I've never explored that one yet. I did one time out on the sand dunes with a different Jeep. Have a power steering pump pulley, plastic, on a Grand Cherokee. It decided to, those first 2 are perfect. I don't need to do more than that because it's just more zip tie to cut. It decided to explode when the Jeep was already really hot from being run hard out on the sand. And when it exploded, it took everything with it. And I wound up, or it took the belt with it. I wound up, or rather, I couldn't put the belt back on. So I wound up having to make a belt out of zip ties. Everybody thought it was really funny because when the Jeep was running, trying to nurse it off of the sand dunes, the zip ties that I did not cut the tails off of were ringing the fan, or the water pump pulley, like a bell. So as it ran, it sat there going ding, 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 ding. And everyone thought it was funnier than I did. But looking back, it's one of those things that's funny in hindsight, I suppose. All right, well, I found the radiator hoses, and they look terrible. I don't know why I thought I should have reused those. So given as I'm already missing all the parts for the cooling system, I figured we'll just wait on those. I've got new heater hoses. Just need to figure out how these are supposed to go on here. That seems like it could be right. Does that go to the top? It must. It flares out right there. Okay. You'll go second. This one then must be the bottom hose. And I'm assuming It goes just over that wiring harness and then turns and goes through there, because these are supposed to clearance if it has air conditioning, which would make sense. So, hang on, you don't fit that in though. That goes like that. Boy, that makes a whole lot more sense now that I think about it. Okay, so you actually go on the top. And then the other one must be the bottom hose. And you come here and you run along the valve cover. That's the bottom. And that goes up to there. That just needs to be cut shorter once we have it figured out. I do believe. Okay. We'll leave the sticker on the hose. That way, if I decide to sell this thing, I shouldn't even joke. Grayson would be very sad. But if I decide to sell the thing, the sticker on the hose might prove it's a new part and increase the value by $6. I don't know. We'll see. If you don't know this about me already, I have way, way too many Jeeps and too many vehicles in general. But I can always be sold on the idea of a failed foster situation. Like, I can't get rid of it. We've bonded. It's mine now. And my son only makes it worse. He's got a big heart, and he wants to save the world. One unloved old rusty Jeep at a time. Just like his dad. I can't wait to find out that this heater core is bad. We all know that's coming next. At least I know that's coming next. Alright, it seems like we just cut this off right about here. That's going to sit about right. But I'm not cutting anything until I get all of these kind of lined up where they're supposed to be. Because I'm not going to say I'm smart, but I'm somewhat wise. So, measure twice, cut once, or something like that. Or you can't cut it longer. I don't know. Don't try to send me for a board stretcher. I know those don't exist. Found out yesterday, late last night. Okay. That is there. I'll go back and tighten those all the way once I'm absolutely sure what's what. Okay, see, and that's why we do this. That is not. Does that go up there? And this one goes right here. Yep. There we go. That's how they go. I had that a little wrong. I'm very glad I didn't start cutting. Said. Wise and gray. Now, if only I'd have put the hose clamps on before I put the hoses on. In my wisdom, infinite as it may not be. Shiny new hoses. I can't wait to redo the valve cover with these hoses in the way. That's going to be so much better than having just waited. Put that one on that way. I'm sure the next problem I'll run into is that it would have been easier to put the upper radiator hose on first, probably. Is that twisted right? Do you need to twist more? Is that where you're supposed to be? No, you're okay. Come around the other side and tighten up that clamp. It's cold outside, but my pellet stove is cooking in here. I'm almost getting hot. It's a great problem to have. This building is a little bit of a challenge to heat, just because it's a steel building with kind of a moderate amount of insulation, and when it's truly cold outside, you get it down to 10-15 degrees outside, and it might be in the 30s in here with that sucker running full bore, which feels awfully good coming in from outside. But the problem is when the tools start freezing to your hands. That's no bueno. Look at that. Those shiny new parts. I love it. Okay. What's next? I should probably tighten that belt. That's probably pretty good. Maybe another couple just for extra good measure here. That's about where we want to be. We can always tighten it a little more if we have unsavory noises. Let's get all of our pump bolts tight now. You have to loosen all of these to tighten the belt. Belt looks like it runs nice and straight, so my accessories can't be too far discombobulated here. This is the only time where I'll ever say it's nice not having AC. Just to know me is to know that, boy, do I love my AC. And if this Jeep were to be my only vehicle, I would definitely be looking to put AC in it. I don't like sweating. But assuming this gets kept, there's only one way it's going to ever be driven, which is topping doors off. Because if it's not nice enough to do that, let's just drive something else. That's how I see it anyway. Especially with the YJ. It's not like we're going to drive it for the ride quality. These things bounce down the road like they're pissed off at your internal organs. Which is awesome if you're going out and driving it on purpose. All part of the experience. If you're just trying to go to get a gallon of milk or something, you don't feel like being shaken to death. Not the best choice. Alright, we got one more on the front, under the pulley. And then we should be about done with this belt. Alright. Just getting snug. Alright, good enough for who it's for. Theoretically, if I start this right now, I'd have power steering. That's crazy. Okay. I need to find an airbox. I'm missing that. I bet that's where the bracket for this power steering fluid reservoir is, because right now that's just sitting there with no obvious thing that it attaches to. I might just shift gears here. With all of that in, maybe it's time to look at the brakes. Because I know I'm going to have to order parts there. I don't want to. Let's do it. Alright, we'll get that lid off and ew. Here, have a better look. Not good. They're both empty. Both full of that. The right thing to do would be a new master cylinder. Let's at least start with this one. I'll clean it up the best I can, and we'll get some fluid in there, and then we'll get this thing up in the air and see where it's pouring out of. You're supposed to use brake cleaner on the internals of one of these? Never really thought about that until I was halfway through doing it. I mean, it helped. It's much cleaner. Anyway, now that that's been rebuilt, I'll pour some fluid in it and lift up the Jeep and start looking for the drips. I am somehow just about out of brake fluid. There's gotta be more on the shelf in here somewhere. Oh, hang on. What do we have here? Hey, I just found a whole new container of brake fluid on the ground. You know, that's the thing that these guys who have real nice, super clean, organized shops miss out on, is the joy of finding stuff that you thought you bought. You get to question your sanity. You get to go on an Easter egg hunt. But you get that feeling of sheer joy when you find something that you weren't sure was there. Anyway, I guess I'll go inside and pump the pedal a few times and make sure that whatever mess this thing makes is as large as possible. It definitely didn't just disappear. But we got some bubbles coming. Okay. There's a few good pumps there. Let's see. I don't see it dripping from anywhere, which means the master probably just lost its prime. One would have thought that spraying a bunch of brake cleaner in there would reprime it. Crazy. Whoa. I'm making a mess. Probably also making it really hard to figure out where the leak's coming from, because that's just going to go everywhere. Neat. Oh, yeah, all brake fluid geyser action. Good stuff. Well, maybe we just fill this up and raise it in the air and crack the bleeders. See what it does. And if I don't get anywhere with that, I can at least go and start pulling wheels. See if I can find any problems there. I should rephrase that. So, oh, cool, I overfilled it. Nice. Brake fluid is one of those things you just want to make sure that you get it everywhere it's not supposed to be. Just go swimming in the stuff whenever you get the chance. It's good for your skin, it's good for your paint. I mean, I did clean that booster up. Look at that. That's fully rebuilt. Oh, it dries. Man, these lines look okay up here. I don't see anything immediately. I'm sure when I get it up in the air I will, though. So yes, I'm aware that my shop floor is generally filthy, but you see that puddle of brake fluid right there? We got the Jeep up in the air, and here's what we see. So our brake lines run down the driver's side of the vehicle. There's our shiny new fuel filter properly inserted in its bracket. And right here we have brake fluid that sprayed the bottom of the vehicle, running down the frame rail, and appears to be coming from right where that line passes through that plastic bracket. I hate metal lines passing through plastic brackets. Where do they always rust out and leak? Right where they pass through the plastic bracket. Now the challenge is we've got to go in both directions and find a good part of this line to be able to patch it. And if I'm honest, we might as well just take it to back over here where it attaches. Oh, look, it's leaking up there too, just not as bad. So we're going to be replacing from there, which will assuredly not want to come out of that rubber line, which means we're probably replacing that rubber line. The lines with the axle look okay, except for this one, which is demolished and dented in. Probably been bottomed out. I don't know, maybe that track bar hit it. But no, I don't know what did that. Interesting. Well, I hope it wasn't the idiot who strapped this thing down into the trailer, as in yours truly, running a strap over that line and bending it. But anyway, getting that out means replacing that line. When I come this way, it's rough all the way through here, all the way there, until magically it's okay again right here by the fuel line connection. So I'm probably going to start here, just cut it and flare it, and replace that all the way back to the back. That's the right thing to do. And it's going to be fun to bend it around all this. I can't wait. It's going to be a great time. All right. I know what my mission looks like. I'm going to jump over to taking a look at the brakes at the wheels. I thought I'd start by just letting you get a close-up shot. Just drink in these blue painted chrome wheels for a minute. There is nothing more beautiful. The other beautiful thing here is, you notice, I got both rear wheels up as unsafely as possible. Spin this one forward. That one sits there on the other side, does nothing. Spin it backwards, and the other one goes forwards, which means open diff. That's fine. So let's see what the rear brakes are hiding on this side. Hopefully they're not too bad. I need a win today. Everything just seems to be going to hell in a handbasket. One thing I noticed is it's got wheel locks on it. I haven't seen anything that looks like a wheel lock key inside, so I'll get to use violence on that. That'll be fun. But we'll start by taking off the ones we can take off. Oops. You're supposed to put the socket in the... Never mind. Those lug nuts are blue, so, they didn't even take the wheels off to paint them. Yeah, that's... Even if I had a key, that sucker is demolished. It's about to be more demolished. Oh, tell me I don't have the right size. I don't have a large enough extractor to go around that thing. Okay, we might be looking at plan B. Good news. I found the wheel lock key. It's right in my toolbox. I really need a bigger compressor if anyone wants to start a GoFundMe. Okay, so when you have a set of wheels like this where you have nice, open, easy access to the lug nuts, and you have an air compressor, and you have an air chisel, and you don't care if you destroy the lug nut or maybe slip and... I'm so sorry that I damaged these wheels, guys. I feel terrible, but I put a couple nicks in that wheel, but that's what you get. But that's how you can defeat a locking lug nut with violence. Winning with violence. That could be the series on this Jeep. Alright, all like 6 of you who watched the video on the Yaris, if you remember, those steel wheels were absolutely, positively a bear and a half. to remove from the car. I had to like sledgehammer them to get them off. These steel wheels are like, please get me away from this Jeep. I have so much more to live for. Unlike the Yaris, I may need to go get checked for a hernia after taking that sucker off. Just kidding. 32 1150 isn't that heavy. Oh, be still my heart. The brake drum is loose. I thought I was going to have to beat that sucker to within an inch of its life to get it off. I said I needed a win, and I'll be darned if the universe isn't handing me one right now. I say that without having removed the drum or seen what's behind it. And I say that because I'm stupid. Okay. Come on, don't quit on me now. You're committed. Okay. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Is that coming through on camera? That brake looks great. The wheel cylinder's not leaking. Hardware, is the adjuster free? Oh, the adjuster's not seized. I know exactly what to do with this situation. Done. Okay, there's like the first part of this Jeep I don't have to come back and do more work on. I'm thrilled. We'll just get these adjusted up once we're all done with everything else. We got rear brakes. I'm grunting like that because I'm picking up this tire, putting the wheel. I have it backwards. You know, who turned it backwards? Okay. Oh, there we go. We're gonna just put this back on. You guys can have a 10-minute break, and I am going to go check the other side. I'm over on the other side. I'm actually in the process of putting it back together. It's already done. That brake looked just as good as the other one. For the people who are thinking like, Tom, what are you talking about when you say that this Jeep looks okay? I know. There's a lot to do, but look at this frame, right? Like, there's paint on it here. Factory paint on the frame. This area right here is where these things go. You look at these Wranglers for sale and the frame over the axle, this looks worse than it is back here where it's, I mean, you got some scale right here. Okay, fine, you win. But this is like, it's not weak, it's not thin. There's nothing at all wrong with it. It is just a little surface rust on the frame on the part of these Wranglers that gets the worst. Look at this. Like, I know I'm doing a lot to save this old Jeep, but the bones, yes, there's rust in the tub. Look, rot, there's a hole. Great, but that's all fixable. None of this is bad. This frame is so good. That's exactly what I looked at when I said, hey, this Jeep has potential. This thing is totally worth $1,000. And speaking of which, let's give you an update on that. Look at my shelf. I'm such a there. That looks a little better. I am, with the parts that I installed on it today, about $1,700 into this project. Now, obviously, that's not counting the gas. That's not counting, wear and tear on my straps on the trailer, or miles on my tow vehicle or my trailer or whatever. But $1,700 some odd dollars between the Jeep and even stuff that I didn't necessarily need the hard top, the doors. There's some stuff even that I've done that I haven't shown on video because it was the first time I'd done it. And I didn't want to look like more of a total idiot, right? I changed out the turn signal switch and I changed out the wiper switch, right? Both of which are deep in the column. I've never taken one of those apart before. There's a million videos of that on YouTube. I figured it's just something I could skip, right? But there's like $80 or $90 went into that. I was fortunate to find Rock Auto right now has some famous brand closeouts. They all came from CarQuest. They just don't advertise it. But the switches were deep discounted. So I've really hit the numbers on a few things on this Jeep, right? I got those switches and stuff cheap. I've got the hardtop and the doors were like insanely cheap for what they are. And yeah, okay, great. Look, they're different colors. I get it. It's not going to win any beauty contest, but I can roll it outside. when you look at these things, they are so expensive. You know, $3,500 to $5,000 for something that, you know, is like this one but done. If I just cleaned it up, even with the rust that's on the body. If I were to list this for sale right now, solid frame, you know, just been gone through, everything's good, runs, drive it home. I'm so on the right side of this thing, and that's what I see in it, and I hope that comes through in the videos. All right, so I didn't get quite exactly where I wanted to be, but we got a lot done. Once I get a drain plug and some new radiator hoses, we can button up the cooling system. Once the valve cover gasket comes, we'll be able to seal that guy up, hopefully for the last time. I feel like I've had that valve cover off and on more times than anything else under here, but we're almost there. We got a lot of stuff figured out today. The rear brakes look good. That's a blessing. That's the first thing I've taken apart on this Jeep and said, cool, don't need to put time and money there. Put those right back together. Front brakes we're going to wind up replacing because the rotors look pretty rusty and the pads are kind of marginal. We'll put some new rubber hoses all the way around when I do the lines. Probably put a new master on it just because that old one was pretty full of gunk and they're cheap and it's the right time to do it. So this thing's likely getting a whole brand new brake system. Still had the fuel system to contend with, some other odds and ends, but we're getting really, really close to a first wheel drive. So what I'm going to do now is pour a little bit of fresh gas on top of all the old gas, fire this thing up and back it out of the shop because I've got some other things to do in here. And then I'll go inside and I'll order some parts, and that'll probably wrap up this episode with the Jeep. So thanks again for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't already, please do so. It really helps me. And of course, share the video with your friends. So probably shouldn't be leaning so close to that with that microphone. I don't know if they spark, but it'd be a heck of a way to end the video. Fireball of gas to the face. Good enough. That'll help dilute that old generator gas that's in there. I still think having the gas filler behind the license plate is the coolest thing. All the cool old cars do it. All right, let's see if she fires up. Look at that. Look at how much more like an actual engine bay that's starting to look like. Not just a hole between the fender walls where a whole bunch of parts used to be. Let's go ahead and put power to it. Nothing sparked. Nothing went kabam. We're still in good shape in that regard. Gotta move you for a quick second here. I set you right in my way. Okay. Alright, we got a check engine light. I heard a fuel pump. Let's see what she does. I've got power steering. That's cool. I guess I should probably hurry up given as I don't have a cooling system.